Hello everyone, welcome back. So today we are in the 10th session of this CCNA course. Okay, so in the previous session we tried to understand the VLAN concept in the switch. We also configured VLAN on the nodes and then we tried to ping from one computer to another computer using the same VLAN. So we are very much familiar now that we can ping one computer to another computer if they belong to the same VLAN. If they are in the different VLAN, then we will not able to ping each other. So in the previous session, we seen the topology like this one, right? We were having some topology. We like this. We are having one switch here and here switch 1 and switch 2, and then we were having computers PC 1 2 3 4 5 6. Here it was VLAN 10, and here also we were having the VLAN 10 10, and here it was 20 20, and this was also on the 20, and we were able to ping from PC1 to PC4, and the remaining like in the same VLAN we are able to ping. Another thing what we observed, we have to configure this link as a trunk port, right? This should be a trunk. So for the purpose of this trunk, actually I told you a protocol that was DTP, right? So today's topic will be discussing about the DTP and VTP. So DTP stands for the dynamic trunking protocol, and this VTP stands for the VLAN trunking protocol. So we will discuss a little about the DTP and very much in the detail about the VTP, because VTP is very important. Okay, so what is happening in the DTP actually? This protocol is normally used to establish a trunk connection between the two switch ports. So in the DTP protocol, there are three modes. The first is dynamic dynamic auto. Another is no negotiate, and one more port is that we forcefully configure it to trunk. That is a trunk port, right? So there are three types of the ports normally we are having. So by default, whenever we are having taking any switch port, that is in the this mode, dynamic auto. Okay, that is in the dynamic auto mode. So whenever we connect it to the computer, so that becomes, that's why whenever we connect to any computer, then we define that port as a access port, right? We define that port as a access port. But if we want that is a trunk port, then in order to establish this as a trunk, what we have to do, we have to forcefully assign one port as a trunk, right? So let me change the color. So which one, let's take blue. Okay, so suppose you want to make this link as a trunk. So in that case, what you do, you manually define one side of this link is as a trunk, right? Whenever you manually configure one side as a trunk, another side is normally auto, right? So it negotiates with the auto port, and this makes this port as a trunk, right? So in the previous session we discussed that when if we configure trunk at any of the side, means just one side, then by default the trunk communication will be happening, and we can pass multiple VLANs through that link, right? So another way is to that you can define trunk manually this side and manually trunk this side as well. And by chance it is recommended to do this one. Why? Because if any unknown or a hacker connects their switch from your port and they define their switch port as a trunk port, so by default you, if your port is auto, so your port will be trunk because they have configured other end as a trunk, right? So this will be a trunk, and your traffic can pass through your VLAN, and hacker can use your traffic for the wrong things. Okay, so what you have to do for the security precautions, you have to configure whatever ports are not in use. You should configure those ports as a no negotiate this mode. So if you configure your port as a no negotiate, so what will happen if any hacker connects your switch from that your port, and even if they configure that as a trunk, it will not negotiate with that one, and it will not establish a trunk connection between that switch port. So that is up to the DTP. So DTP is having only these three ports, three modes: no negotiate, trunk, and dynamic auto. So let's quickly switch to our packet tracer and just have a look on these ports. Okay, and then we will come back again for the discussion on VTP. So let it like this, and let's go to our packet tracer, and let me create one switch. Where is that one? Here it is. So let's take one switch, and let's try to take one more switch, just connect with them with the cable. Okay, and just have a look on the switch CLI. So right now it might be loading up. Okay, the connection is established. Enable, configure, not configure, just have we have to see the port modes, right? So to view the switch port mode, we can go to the show. You can put the this question mark, and it will give you the option of the show interfaces. So interfaces, then question mark. For the interfaces, you can check these many options: Ethernet, fast Ethernet, but our interest to check is the switch port. So just we have to check the switch port, and which interface you want to check. Let's check all. Okay, so I'm just putting the enter. So once you press enter, it just tell you the first one, that is name FA0/1. Okay, and let me pen the epic pen, it may help me to write on the screen. And it is opening. Quick. No. Oh, here it is. So I can write on the screen now. Yes, now you can. So you see that this is our FA0/1. So this is the switch port FA0/1, and its switch port is enabled. So by default, these all ports are enabled. Okay, in the switch they are enabled, and in the router we have to manually make them up. Okay, and if you see that this is the administrative mode, that is dynamic auto. So this is actually a DTP mode. DTP mode we were talking about. So that is by default, that is a dynamic auto. So if anyone will connect from this FA0/1 port and they define that port as a trunk, then this mode will automatically change to the trunk. Okay, and that mode will go to the trunk. So, and after that one, they are using the encapsulation as a .1q. You see, actually there are two things. There was for the switching purpose, earlier Cisco was using a technology like ISL. Okay, but now that was a Cisco proprietary. Not now, they are not using ISL, not at all. Everybody in even in Cisco they are using encapsulation .1q. Okay, so we write it. That's actually this full name is 802.1q, but in the short form they write like this .1q. There is a one more mode, that is 802.1 AD. So sometimes we use this mode as well. So right now this encapsulation type is .1q. Right, so from here we can see that this is .1q or .1 AD, because the first initial these values are the same. Correct. So operational trunking encapsulation is native, negotiation on trunking is on. So that's why is trunking is on. So that's how we can put it off, means that it will go on the no negotiation. Right? If you want to configure it that I don't want any negotiation with the another port. Right? We have discussed the three things: auto, and then we talk about the trunk, and next was the no negotiate. So that we can make it off. So in that case, it will not negotiate with the another switch. Access mode, this is a native VLAN by default. That's VLAN 1 is added on this switch port. Okay. Administrator private VLAN host is none. That is okay. Dot one k encapsulation dot one q trunk normal none. That is okay. That's not much useful. And trunking VLAN enabled all. That if we configure right uh, trunk, then all VLANs will be allowed. But if you want, you can also manually allow your VLANs. It's like that. By default, if you configure the trunk, then whatever the VLAN is coming, all the VLANs will be passed through the trunk. But still, if you want, you can specifically allow from that trunk allowed VLAN. There is a command like this, allowed VLAN. And if you want to allow only 5 VLANs, right? So you can just allow 10, allowed VLAN 20, 30, 40, and 50. 40 and 50. It means that only these 5 VLANs will be allowed through these trunks. So that's also an option. So by default, all the VLANs are allowed. But if you want to specifically allow those VLANs, you can do that as well. Capture VLAN allows all. That's okay, I think. And the remaining, we are having the same thing for the. Okay, where is that one? Yeah, yeah. So that is okay. What is that one? I'm not able to close. Why is that one? Yeah. So now I can see this one. Okay, let's delete this part first. Yeah. And go to mouse. So the same thing is replicated for the other ports as well, because I have put the enter for the all the ports. So all ports information will be given. So right now on the FA0/5, FA0/6, so we can put space and it will be done for the all of them. Okay. So that's what you can do it. So let's try to configure one of the port as a trunk. So just let's go to the switch 1. Okay. And let's make that port as a trunk. Enable config T and switch port interface FA0/1 and switch port mode trunk. Okay. So as we make it as a trunk, so it will go down and it will come up once again. So now let's check what is happening in the switchboard. So show switchboard, show interface, switchboard, and what else we can do? We can put pipe over here, and we can type a begin FA0/1. Okay, so you see that that's right now is administrative mode is dynamic auto now, but the operational mode is trunk. So right now it is working as a trunk, this switch port 1, right? It is still not up, but it will be up soon. So negotiation of us on the trunking, it was on. So that's why it is negotiated with another port and now it is going to be trunk. Okay. So now let's try to check the what is called our yeah, it is okay now. Okay, so now let's check our VTP. So let's move to our VTP. So VTP stands for our virtual trunking, not virtual, that is VLAN trunking protocol. Okay, VLAN trunking protocol. So don't get confused with its name. It has nothing to do with the trunking. It does not do any trunking. Okay, so its name is although VLAN trunking protocol, but it does nothing. So what is the purpose of this VTP? That's first we try to understand. Okay, So in the previous example, what was happening? We were having one switch. We were connected 2, 3. Let's take it A, B, and C. We are having 3 computers connected with switch 1. Switch 1. And we were having one more switch as switch 2, right? And we are having B, C, D, E, F, right? So what was happening, whatever the VLAN you configured 10 here and you want to communicate over this D, so these all ports, in fact, I said that this computer is in the VLAN 10, but what is happening actually, this port of the switch is on the VLAN 10. If this port is not on VLAN 10, we will not able to communicate with this computer, right? So what happens if there are 3 switches in the between, right? What happens that if there are 3 switches in the between, that we are having switch 1, switch 2, switch 3, right? And here we are having the trunk, okay? And here we are having one computer A, and here we are having another computer B. Now this A wants to communicate with B. A here is in that VLAN 10, B also here we configured on the VLAN 10. What happens in between? Do we have to configure VLAN 10 in between? Yes, we have to configure on all these ports, everything, everywhere we have to configure this VLAN 10 everywhere on each switch. If you do not configure this VLAN 10 here, they will not able to communicate from one to one, because what is happening, suppose by default what is happening, this switch is in the default VLAN, that is VLAN 1. So all the switch ports are the member of VLAN 1, 1, 1, all the ports. And here from one port, that is trunk, it is receiving the traffic from VLAN 10. What will happening? It will discard it. It will discard it because I am the part of a member VLAN. I'm the member of VLAN 1, so I will receive the traffic of VLAN 1 only. It will discard that traffic. It will not receive it. So once it does, this switch 2 does not receive it, how it can transfer it further? So we have to configure this VLAN on this switch port as well. So this is the problem with this one switch port, means that we have introduced only single switch in between. What in case if there are 50 switches in the between? How many? 50 switches in between. We have to configure manually on all these switch port. We have to configure this VLAN 10 manually. So in the enterprise, then the real network, this is very complicated task, right? You have to log in every switch. Even if you are having the remote access, even then you have to log in that switch and you have to configure that VLAN 10 manually. So for that purpose, we are having this protocol that is called VTP. What is happening on the VTP, that whatever VLAN you configure on this port, suppose you configure 10, 20, this is switch 1. Okay, you configured VLAN 10 and 20, and if another switch is connected via this and the mode is trunk, what is happening, this 10 and 20 automatically will be created on this switchboard. But what we have to do, we have to just configure the that is called VTP. We have to enable VTP mode, right? If we enable the VTP, then whatever VLAN you configure here, they reach over here, and whatever the switch will be connected, all the switch will be having the same VLAN whatever you have the configured here. So this works with the revision number. Let's go to the another page. This works on the revision number. So revision number is like that, how many times you have made configuration, how many times you have changed the configuration. So if you have not done any configuration, it has the configuration number revision number 0. If you have made one change, it will go to the revision number 1. If you made 5 changes, it will go to the revision number 5. So that's how it is incrementing. So suppose this switch is having the revision number of 20, and any other switch that is having the revision number of 50, right? So if they are connected via trunk link, so by default, what will be happening that whoever switch is having the higher revision number, that configuration or VLAN will be copied to the lower revision number switch, correct? And don't worry, I will just show you in the practical in the packet tracer, so that will make you very much clarity. And another mode is like that. So sort out this problem, we have the configuration like that. Suppose what is happening here, you are having the 10, 20, 30, right? And here there is someone is having 10. So this configuration will be changed to this one because this is having revision number 50. So only this 10 VLAN will be copied to this one and remaining might be removed. So for that we are having the concept of server and client. So by default VTP, all the nodes are in the VTP server mode. So we can do all changes or VLAN configuration only on server if any of the node is defined as a switch VTP client. We cannot do any VLAN changes on the client. It will not allow you to do the changes in the client mode. So whatever we do on the server, that will be copied on the lower on the client first. Okay, so that is a little brief on that one. Once more we learn just we by doing the practical. So just quickly switch to our packet tracer, okay, and just try to do the configuration that how it happens. So that was the earlier one example, and we are having just two switches right now. Let me to remove these two as well. No, and let's take new switch. This is one switch, another switch. This is one more switch, and here one more switch. So let's try to connect them one by one. This one, here it is, and this is to this as well, like this one. Okay, so this is connected, and let's try to check the mode of the VTP first. So let me go to or rename it, or I think switch 0 is okay. I'm not having any problem with the switch 0. So first let's check the enable and show VTP status. So when we check the show VTP status, then we see that the VTP version is 2. So VTP version is like a protocol version. So that is version 3 is also available right now, but don't worry about that one. Right now, we are just in the initial phase of learning this VTP. So 2 is sufficient for the learning. And if you see that this configuration revision, so right now we have not done any changes. So that's why it is having the configuration or revision number 0. Maximum VLAN supported locally, they are 255. Number of existing VLAN, right now we are having only 5 VLANs. VTP operating mode, that is server. Right now by default all the switch are in the server mode. Okay, so VTP pruning is disabled. We will learn these three things, that what are they and why we use this one. And we are having the MD5. If we need authentication or security, we can use the MD5 authentication as well. So let's check another switch as well. What is the VTP status over there? Enable show VTP status. This is, I think, switch 1. Yeah, this is switch 1. So let's change the host name. Configure terminal host name switch 1. Okay, switch 1. Oh, short name. Host name switch 1. So it has been changed. So now you can see the do show VTP status. So the same thing, we have not done any changes. So configuration revision is 0 here. And this is also on the server mode. So right now what I'm doing, I'm changing it to the client. So VTP, what are the options available? Domain, mode, password, version, right? So right now what I'm doing, I'm changing its mode to client mode, and we are having the three options: client, server, and the transparent. So by default, this is in the server mode, and the whenever it becomes the client, it copies the configuration from the server. Next thing is a transparent. I will just discuss it in the coming time. Okay, so right now I am just trying to do the client VTP mode client, setting up device to the VTP client. So now if it is in the client mode, and if I try to create the VLAN on this one now, VLAN 10, then it is saying that the VTP configuration not allowed when the device in the client mode. So by default, all the nodes switches are in the server. So we can do configuration or create the switch VLAN, but when it is in the client mode, we cannot create the VLAN. Okay, so our switch 0 is in the server mode. So let's try to create some VLAN. VLAN configure terminal and VLAN 10. Let's give its name as the marketing VLAN. Okay, this is for the marketing department. So let's check that has it received it or not. So exit, show VLAN. Is it there? 1 and 1002, that too only. So let's check the VTP status. So we are having the 5 VLANs, right? Default 1 VLAN, and these are the reserve VLANs. So we are having the total 5 VLANs right now. So that's what it should be showing here. So number of existing VLAN, VLAN 5, and configuration revision 0. We have not done any changes on this one, especially on the VLAN. This configuration revision is just depends on the VLAN only, right? We have made it the client, that does not count as a revision. So go to here. Here we have created one VLAN, right? So check the status here. Show VTP status on switch 0. Right now we are on the switch 0. Okay. Show VTP status. Switch 0 means that which is at the top. Stop. VTP status. Show VTP. Do show. Okay. So you see that the configuration revision has been changed to 2. Why it has been changed to revision 2? We have added only one VLAN, right? Let's check the VLAN. Exit, show VLAN. Just show VLAN. So we have made only one VLAN, but why it is showing the revision number 2? Show VTP status. It is showing the revision number 2 because we have created the VLAN, and after that we have given its name, right? So you have made 2 changes on that one. So that's why the configuration revision is 2. Let me create one more VLAN, and let's check the correct revision number config terminal and VLAN 20. I will not give the name is this time. And now let's check the VTP status. This time it is 3. You see? And now let me give the name. That's, let's say that this is a sales department VLAN sales. And if I check now, do show VTP status, then it is revision number 4. You see, that's how it is changing. So what happens if has it been received, because this is a client switch 1, so has it received on this one or not yet? Let me check. Show VTP status, show VLAN. It has not received as our VLAN. VLAN 10 is still not here. What we have to do, we have to define this link as a trunk, right? So let's try to define that link as a trunk. Okay, so let me just quickly do it. You can do it from any of the site, or let me check if I'm here. Exit FA0/1 interface FA0/1 and switchboard mode trunk. Correct. So it will go down and come up. Meanwhile, we can check the status here. Show VLAN. Till now we have not received it. Let me check again. Have we received it? Show VLAN. Still not. Still not. Has they come up? Not yet. Let me put here. Yeah. Show. We are just waiting. Okay, line protocol is up now. One side. Have we received yet? No, not yet. not yet, not yet. This I'm waiting to this one to come up. So as it comes up, it should copy the VLAN 10 from the server. If it does not, we will see why. But as usual, it should copy. So let me check now. Has it done? Oh, it's still not done. So let's check the show VTP status on this node. So this one, this is a client. VTP is disabled. Configuration revision 0. And let me create one more VLAN here. Exit. Has it done till now? Show VLAN. Oh, still not. That's strange. Let me create one more VLAN here. So VLAN 30, and this time I'm giving a name it as a HR department. Okay. So let's check now. Oh, it's strange. It is still not done the VLAN. No problem. We will use the domain now. So you see that why I was showing you that even without domain it does not. But now let me configure the domain. Okay. So VTP, there was a name as a domain. So domain is like the set the name of the VTP administrative domain that on which domain it belongs to. So here I am naming this the VTP and domain name as a, what should I put it as, like US. So changing VTP domain name to null to US. So it is very important to define domain name on the server. I will not define it on the this switchboard, but still I think they should copy the VLAN. You see that this domain is very important on the server switch. If you don't define on the server, they do not copy the VLAN. Once I define it on the server, they just started sending the VLAN on the all the modes, right? So right now, are there VLAN here? Let me check. Enable config terminal and show no, do show VLAN. Do show VLAN. No, we are not having any VLAN. Why we are not having VLAN? Because this link is as a access link, right? We have to configure this link as a trunk link. So before that, I just want to show you that what is the transparent mode, right? We have seen the three modes, right? Show VTP. No, then the configuration, I think it was configure terminal and VTP mode. There were three modes: client, server, and transparent. So we have seen that in the client mode, we cannot do any VLAN changes or VLAN configuration. In the server, we can do all the VLAN configuration on the server, right? What about the transparent? Transparent is like it can take the VLAN from the server, but it will not write the VLAN on the its own. It will not store on its own switch, but it can transfer that VLAN to the another connected switch. So in this example, if you see that if switch 0 is a server, it is sending the VLAN. So let's try to check this one. Here we can configure the transparent mode. Okay. So on the switch 2, we are going to configure as a transparent port. So if we configure it as a transparent, it will not take any VLAN, but it will pass to the this switch 3. So let me check it. VTP mode transparent. Okay. And this one as VTP mode as a client. Okay. Enable config T, and after that one VTP mode client, that is okay. And now let me create this port as a trunk. So right now, if I have not created trunk, then still they will not receive any VLAN. Show VLAN, right? It has not received even our this port show VLAN, right? It has do show VLAN. Still is not received any of the VLAN. So now let me configure trunk these FA0/1 and 0/2. So we can do from just one single one. So that's why I'm doing configure. Why I'm doing from this one? Because if I configure this FA0/ because we can configure together, right? Configure range FA0/1, 0/2. If we configure these two ports as a trunk, so other end will automatically become trunk. So that's why I'm configuring only one switch and our both the links will be on the trunk. So configure interface range FA0/1-2 and switch port mode trunk. So by this way we use, I have configured on both of them. Otherwise we have, if I configure trunk on this link, so first I would have configured on this, then I would have gone to either switch and then this side, or we can go to switch 3 and then we configure trunk toward this one. So doing, smart work and just configuring trunk on this FA0/2 and FA/0/1 of switch 2. So both will be on the trunk. So I'm just waiting to come up. Once they come up, we'll check the VLAN what we have got till now. Okay. So just waiting, waiting and waiting. Exit, exit. And as they come, okay, one side has come now. Let's go to the switch 3. Here also, let's put it as exit. We will just ready to see the VLANs. So has any of them come up? Not yet. Switch 3, switch 3. Okay, now they have come up. First, let's check on the switch 2. This we have configured as a transparent. So if you have configured transparent, then that these VLANs should not have been received on this switch. So let's check VLANs on this one. Show VLAN. So you see that we have not got any VLAN 10, 20 and 30 have not received or configured on this switch, right? What about this one? What you see? What you say that has they received or not, right? Let me see it here. We have not received. We can put it short. We cannot. So we have not got VLAN on this switch 2, but we will receive VLAN on switch 3. So let's check now. Show VLAN. You see, there's our 10, 20, 30 are available on the switch 3. So this is the concept of the transparent, that it might happen in some cases that you don't want to copy the VLANs on this from server to here. And if you want to make changes on the VLAN, right? If you want to create any VLAN 50 here, VLAN 50, you can create the VLAN here. So in the transparent mode, you can create the VLAN because it is not at all transferring VLANs. Either it not neither it is receiving nor it is giving, right? But it's just whatever is receiving from the back door, it is just transferring to the switch 3. Correct. So this is a very important concept, and but sometimes we have to configure the security as well, because by this way anyone can configure VTP mode and they can access your VLANs. So for that purpose we can use the password as well. Exit. Config. We can set this on switch 0, right? So config T, and we can set the VTP password Cisco. Fine. So now it is setting the password. Cisco has been set, right? So right now, if you check the VLANs here, so whatever you have received, you received VLAN 10. Even if we have changed the password, but it's still we can we will be having the same VLAN. Show VLAN. It is having the 10, 20, 30. But if you create one more VLAN here, VLAN 50 here on the server mode, not on the transparent. In the transparent, we have created 50, but let me create 100 here. VLAN 100, right? We have created VLAN 100 on the this server switch 0. So have they received on the switch 3? Let's check. No, we have not got. Why? Because this is the password mismatch. Even we will not receive on this switch. Enter show VLAN. Do show VLAN. Because we are in the configuration mode, so in the configuration mode we have to do the write the do keyword, then only we can see this. So we here also we are not able to check the VLANs, right? Let's set the password on this switch 3. Okay, so let me configure the password on switch 3. So let's go to the configure terminal. Before configuring the password, we have to set the domain as well. So VTP domain, and our domain was what was US, right? So domain name already set to US. Okay, that domain name it has copied from this one. So we don't have to configure the domain name once again. We will uh, configure the password. So VTP password, and that we have given Cisco on the server. So we are the same thing we are giving the client as well have, right? So setting device VLAN Cisco. Now let's check the VLAN. Have we received it or not? Show VLAN. You see, now we are having the VLAN 100 here. What about this switch 1? Have they received it? Do show VLAN. Still we don't have any idea about the VLAN 100. Why? Because still it is not having the password. Let's set the password here as well. VTP password Cisco. So if you change the password later on, so whatever you have received, that is received. But if you make any new changes, that will not be received from the server, right? So let's check VLAN now. Now we are having the VLAN 100 here as well. You see above, we are not having 100 here, but right now we are having the VLAN 100 available here. So that's about the VTP. There's nothing else. And let's check the configuration VLAN revision configuration. Show VTP configuration. No, VTP status. Sorry, I'm also not tired now because being long. So configuration revision 1. You see. What about this one? There will be a lot of VLAN revision number. Show VTP status. So there's configuration C0. There's a no. Okay. This is showing till the time from where we have set the password, right? So that's why it is just showing only one comp. So means that once you set the password or change the domain, your configuration revision number is reset. This is also a new information, by checking this one, you are getting more information. So if you want to reset the revision number of any of the switch, then what you can do, you can change the domain name of that device, or you can change the password of that device. So changing the password is just tricky things. Or so the first thing you can do, that you can change the domain. So once you change the domain name, it will the configuration revision, you can reset to 0. But if you want that, you sometimes people are very strict. No, I don't want to change my domain name. So in that case, what you can do, you can put something else domain name, and if you want that domain name once again, you can change the domain name once again and put as it was before, and doing this exercise will reset your configuration revision number. Okay, so that's it for the day. We have covered a lot of information on the VTP and a little information on the DTP, but this is very important concept. And if you have any doubts, you can join me on Saturday on the live session. And if you are watching this session later on, you can just go to any comment section and you can write the comment, and then I will get back to you, right? And if you want to reach me directly, you can also follow me on Instagram, right? If you wish, you can follow me on Instagram using this ID. My ID is this Sarana Shukla. You can configure me on this one. Okay. So this is the way you can check me. Okay. So this is my ID. You can find me on the Instagram and you can follow me. Oh, this is my photo. Cute. I was visiting Taj Mahal, so you can see Taj Mahal on my specs. You see, if you observe minutely. If not, then also not a problem. Anyways, let's meet on the next video. Till that, bye bye.